I have lived in many different places in my life, and I've always gone to church. I've always gone to Mass every Sunday. And so I've gotten a real sampling of different parishes, and I've found that there's always going to be people in church that get on your nerves. Everywhere you go, there's going to be someone that does something that you just can't stand. You're like, why do you do this? I remember I was at this one church, and every single Sunday, this guy would sit in the same section, and he would always sing the song like one whole verse behind everyone else. It drove me nuts. Nuts. It's like he must be doing it on purpose. Can he not hear all the hundreds of other people singing something that he is not singing? How can he not, right? So I would spend most of my Mass, judging him in my heart, and he is just praising the Lord. He's having a great time. He's way holier than I am. But this is a common experience. And sometimes because of this, it's easy to slip into something that's very prevalent in our culture right now, where people say, well, I can believe, I can have a good relationship with God, but I don't really need the whole church thing, because church involves other people, and I don't always like those other people. I like myself, I like Jesus, so, we got a good thing going here, but I don't really want to do the whole church thing, because those people bug me. And this is not what Jesus has told us. Jesus has given us the gift of the church with other people because we're not saved in isolation. We're saved as a church, that God has called his people together to save them. And one of the oldest symbols or images of the church is Noah's Ark. That Noah's Ark actually is a symbol of what the church would become, because Noah builds this giant ark, and all these different animals come onto the ark, and because of that, they are saved from the flood. You noticed that in the reading, it says, bring in the clean animals, bring in the unclean animals. Every single animal, all of the gross, creepy, crawly insects, the majestic lions, everything. We're all together in one boat, and this is how God preserves their lives during the flood. And the church is a symbol of that. I mean, imagine what it would have been like, what it would have sounded like, smelt like on that ark with all those animals crammed in together. A lot of those animals, if you can imagine, probably would not have been friends out in the natural world. You got the carnivores and the vegetarians living side by side. I'm sure Noah was doing his best to keep all the animals in their respective places, but it must have been a little bit of chaos. And yet none of them jumped off the side of the ark. They stayed on because they didn't want to die in the flood. They stayed in the ark even when it was uncomfortable. And God has given his church to us as the means for our salvation. We are saved through the church. We need the church. It's not just me and Jesus. It's Jesus and his church, and I'm a part of that church. And so when we come to church, we're coming into the ark, being saved from the destruction that happens to all those who ultimately reject God. We come into the ark for sanctuary, to receive the salvation of Christ. And even when all the other animals on the ark, aka all the other parishioners that might seem like animals sometimes, like zoo animals, guess what? We're all in the ark together. We're all being saved together. And we don't leave the church because the people in it are imperfect. Because guess what? You're imperfect too. And you're allowed on the ark. You're allowed in the church. This is the place for all peoples to come to receive the salvation of the Lord. And so it always brings me such great joy to say Mass and to look out and to see all of you and to know that God has called each and every one of you here with your imperfections, with your foibles, with your irritations, with all of that, but with your goodness, with your kindness, with your sense of humor. All of you are unique. All of you are distinct, and yet God has called us all together because he's saving us as a family. He's saving us as a people. So don't leave the ark. If people annoy you, if people hurt you in the church, don't leave the church because of it. Stay on the ark in order to receive the salvation of God.